Lance Homebrew coming at you with a beer review. Well, what have I got today? I've got a beer that I picked up when I was down in Newport, Oregon, home of Rogue Ales, Newport, Oregon. And I picked up a whiskey while I was there made from the same grains that are used in the Dead Guy Ale. And it's kind of nice. It's a nice little whiskey. The other thing I picked up was this. I've been curious about this for a long, long time. I've kind of resisted buying it in the past because it can be very overpriced, but it was actually less expensive at the brewery, so I went ahead and got it. It's the Rogue Farms Marionberry Braggot, and I do like Braggots. I believe this has been discontinued, but they're still available out there. So Rogue Ales, Newport Beach. This is made with Marionberries, hand-picked at the Rogue Farm. So Rogue has their own farms, etc., and it's made with their own hops. They have 40 acres of hops, their own barley, and their own honey. And their bees are located right across the street from their 40-acre hop farm, which is quite unique. And amongst the malts that they grow is flaked rye. So Pac-Man yeast, of course. I can't wait to give this a try. It's 11.4% ABV, 17 IBUs. We're gonna get this Braggot. We're gonna get open right away. Now I assume most of you know what a Braggot is, but it's a mix of like basically a mead and a beer. Or some just say it's a beer made with honey, but it's really a mix. So, all right, take a look. We've got bubbles rising up. We've got a good finger head on there. It's kind of a murky brown up in the upper area, murky to deep honey color, actually. And let's get a nose right away. Wow, okay, this is probably too cold to get as much nose as I want, but I can tell you these are really rich aromas coming off of here. Okay, I took a moment to warm it up a little bit, and I'm picking up some berries, different berries. I would say you get some like that blackberry, Marionberry, you get like a little bit of raspberry, and Marionberry is kind of a mixed berry. So those would be the right kind of nose, the right scents to be getting from that. But you get some rich malty flavors, you get their scents, I should say, in the honey, kind of a rich honey. But it's like it's a darker honey is how it comes across. It's kind of rich. And you get some earthiness on there as well, maybe a bit of wood. So I say we're gonna jump in, cheers. That's really different. Ooh, and then the backside. Honestly, a little off-putting. Not what I'm expecting on this whatsoever. So I'm gonna take a minute with this and come back with some thoughts here. Wow, it is very different. I will say it's warming, first of all. You get the booze in this. It is not really very well hidden. And it has a slight, like, I don't know if it's tart, but a little bite on the back side. And the flavors are, for Braggot, they're rich. But I don't want to say, like, not rich in your normal sense. They're like a dark richness to it, which is very odd. It's almost as if you're getting some dark fruits coming in on it, but you definitely know there's honey. It almost make me think as if there was like a buckwheat honey or something like that. The berries are in there. They're very subtle. But that little bit of off taste, that little bite, throws it in the end. And there's a bit of woodiness and smoky flavor to it, which is very interesting. I know that they smoke the hives to get the bees out, but I don't know that I've ever had that take characteristic on a beer or a mead. So a Braggot in this case, there's a bit of a quality of like a grape or grape skin or grape seed type of character to it. And there's a little bit of like hoppy floral notes coming in. But there's these other dark fruit qualities, almost like you're picking up a bit of a plum on it as well. And the taste is kind of a buttery, oily kind of a texture to it as well. So very interesting. It doesn't really dry out. the sweetness on it there's a little bit of spiciness, and there's a kick to it that just makes me think a little bit of like a Belgian quad, except for it has these other flavors, but it's just different. So I'm going to take some time with this, and I'll be back with maybe a little more explanation and some numbers. Well, I've given it some time. I think time is important to improve a lot of beers, and sometimes we don't give things enough time. It's kind of mellowed down, it's toned down as it's aerated. A little bit of that odd bite and bitterness has dissipated a bit. It's still there though. No, it's still a giant airplane. Another giant airplane. It's interesting, that odd taste is still there. That light bitterness and the wood, you know, it's like an off wood taste to it. It makes me wonder if in the process they didn't, you know, clean the berries, if they had some stems in it or something like that. I don't know. Just a bit different, and that part is just a little bit off-putting. But to counterbalance it, you have to wait for airplanes, because they counterbalance everything. They trump it all every time. Where the hell's this airplane? I think what's really redeeming about it though is this interesting blend of this malty sweetness and the honey sweetness on there. And the fact that it's kind of has that honey texture added into it, and has a bit of a quality like a quad. To me, that just is very intriguing. I will say, it's not the epic Braggot I was hoping for. I mean, I'm a huge berry fan. Straight up, I grew up on boysenberries. You don't hear that so much anymore, but that was what they grew in Central California, man. Boysenberries. We have blackberries still just crazy. I got them in the backyard back there. But I love my berries. I grew up picking them, making pies, putting them in ice cream. And Marionberries are wonderful. Not as good as boysenberries, honestly, but that's my favorite. But they're still wonderful, and you're just getting some hints of that. But it's not the sweet qualities. It's some of the other flavors that come from those berries. And if they'd been able to capture the sweet Marionberry flavor in this, it would have had a real dramatically different taste. My assumption is that fermented out, and you're not getting a lot of the berry flavors. Regardless, it's a fun try, but you know, this is going to be for people who enjoy very complex and different things, and people who just love meads and braggots. And I've got a friend, we'll just say it, you know, it's going to be my buddy, the Canadian Sasquatch Brewery. Go watch his videos at Canadian Sasquatch Brewery. Steve would enjoy this. He would appreciate this, but probably not as many people are going to. So my guess is this doesn't get as high as scores from the average person. All right, as much as I love my variety, I can't score it super high in terms of a braggot. And I've had a number of braggots. The best braggot I've had still today comes from my good friend Stephen Poor. That's right, S.J. Poor. He made a phenomenal braggot. He made an IPA braggot combo thing. I mean, that was just off the freaking charts. This is good beer. It's a good braggot, but it's going to be in the B category. It's just really not hitting it for a braggot. On a braggot area, it's going to be low. I'm giving it an 82 for a braggot. Now, the only reason it gets an 82 is it would be lower, but because it has that honey texture built into it, and it has some of those flavors that come from a quad. So this brings me now to my overall. Overall, it's fun. It's different. And the losing part is that little bit of bitterness that just doesn't fit in. I mean, you only want enough bitterness to temper the sweetness, but not to add more. And granted, they're saying 17 IBUs, so that means there's something else that's adding bitterness into this other than the hops. So I can't give it a huge score. I'm gonna move up a little bit on the scale, not a whole lot though. It's a fun beer. I'm giving it an 85, a straight up B on my overall, just because it's a fun experience and was worth my trying. But you've heard the description, so you might not go out of the way unless you're Steve, the Canadian Sasquatch brewer. Then you might give this a shot. So here it is again. Oh my God, a fucking helicopter. So here it is. It is the Rogue Farms Marionberry Braggot. That's right, beer and mead. It's from Rogue Ales out of Newport, Oregon. It's been discontinued. You can still find bottles out there. It's something unique. This is Kevin from Clemens Homebrew saying life's too short to drink cheap beer, and I'll see you in the next beer review.